Next up, guys, we got Karol Rosa taking on Pannie Kianzad. These are two women that, I really don't give a rat's rip about their fights. I mean, no disrespect, but I swear it's like their fights just blur together in my mind. They're all the same fight. For both of these women, honestly. You look at Karol Rosa, and if I remove her grappling results, because I did remember watching her get absolutely smushed by Raquel Canuto in a grappling match. I watched that on Fight Pass, I believe. But when you're looking, we saw Irene Aldana defeat her. Then she beats Yana Santos via split decision. She loses to Norma Dumont via unanimous decision. She beats Lena Landsberg via majority decision. She loses to Sara McMann via unanimous decision. She beats Betchko. She's been alternating wins and losses in the UFC since 2021. And it's just, painful, right? Like this women's bantamweight division in many ways is painful. Karol Rosa, I saw her in person absolutely sell that fight against Sara McMann. That was in Columbus, Ohio. Sara McMann won as a plus 200 underdog at 41 years of age. Karol Rosa got reversed. She got held down. She looked god awful. And I just think that she's a pretty harmless fighter, with all due respect. She's had 9 fights in the UFC. Every one of them has been a decision. That's not the kind of fighting I like to watch. I like women that present danger, right? I like women that create, the kind of fights where people can finish, right? And I just haven't seen that from Karol Rosa. She's been in a lot of stinkers. She's had 4 fights end via submission in her career, 4 wins via knockout. They were all regional. She lost to Melissa Gatto and Larissa Pacheco via submission finishes back in the day. And she submitted to Miras Vidal. That is like her only finish win over a UFC quality opponent. And Tamiris Vidal hardly, proven that she's UFC quality, right? Coming off of 2 straight losses in the UFC. So, man, I don't have a strong commentary to lead off with here, except to say Karol Rosa 6-3 in the UFC. Let's talk about the facts, right? If I don't care about the color, let's talk about the facts. We have Karol Rosa as a UFC favorite, 6-1 in the UFC. So basically, guys, she's won all the fights she's supposed to win, and she loses every time she fights anybody who's good. And Pannie Kianzad, meanwhile, I could just shorten my breakdown to say she is a terrible underdog bet historically in the UFC, one of the all-time worst. She's 5-5 overall in the promotion, guys. Would you believe me if I told you that she's just 1-5 as a UFC underdog for a negative 60.5% return on investment? So essentially, the betting trends tell you simply click Karol Rosa or move on, because Karol Rosa has been a winning UFC fighter that's made people money, and Pannie Kianzad has been a extremely unproductive dog that loses every time. I'm kidding, of course, but again, she's a 500 UFC fighter. She's never won via stoppage. So her demerit in the UFC is that she's been submitted twice, right? And then she's also lost 3 decisions. So I think on paper she's put up worse numbers than a girl like Karol Rosa. Let's pull up UFC stats again. When you don't have color, when you don't care too much about spinning a yarn about this fight, then we'll just go right to the facts and the data. It looks like Karol Rosa is the higher volume striker. She absorbs a little bit more damage on the comeback. Her defense is poor. Her accuracy is superior. She gets more takedowns. She's got better takedown defense. Pannie Kianzad has never had a successful submission attempt in the UFC. So, yeah, I think Pannie Kianzad stinks. That fight that she had last time out was so bad against Macy Chiasson, just a god-awful look. And to go from losing via submission in round 2 in 2018 to losing via submission in round 1 in 2024, kind of just a commentary on her career, going nowhere fast. So no disrespect to these women. We wish them all the best. I just don't give a shit about this fight at all. And that is the Lord's sincere truth. Liam, there's only one angle that matters in this fight. Betting on Brazilian lesbians is the most plus EV angle in women's MMA, especially if she's not fighting another Brazilian. The trend is your friend. Yeah, I mean, Pannie Kianzad. I just said the same thing, Dixon. Brother, are you listening to me? I just said the only play to have on this one is Karol Rosa, but even still, I'm not a huge Karol Rosa believer. She went out there and sold on me against Sara McMann. By the way, guys, it's time to brag on Sara McMann. You know what I care about more than this fight by a lot? Amit Elor. She's wrestling for a world for an Olympic title tomorrow. She's already the world champion. She's wrestling for an Olympic title tomorrow. Guess who her coach is in her corner? Amit Elor from the United States of America, being coached by Olympic silver medalist. There's your hint. Sara McMann. So Sara McMann, instead of selling coin for me against Karol Rosa in the UFC, she is on the front lines in Paris trying to win the U.S. another gold medal, and this time in women's freestyle wrestling. So very excited to see Amit Elor go for the gold tomorrow, and very excited to see Sara McMann in her corner once again. Honestly, guys, it was awesome. If you watch today, Amit Elor gets the win, looks over at Sara McMann, and Sara McMann is just looking at her blindsided by how good Amit Elor truly is. 10-0 score, just absolutely ran through her opposition. It was honestly not competitive in any way, shape, or form. So Amit Elor, the class of the USA right now on the women's side of things, and we've still got a lot of great action to go. So if y'all are like me, then y'all like some Olympic wrestling. Y'all like to see a little bit of different combat sports as well. Some of the intricate details in these smaller component sports, that's what you love to see. So shout out to the great Sara McMann, a former fight star, a former MMA star, but a legend of the wrestling game through and through on the United States side. So love to see her getting her flowers this weekend in Paris as Amit Elor seeks glory tomorrow. That's awesome stuff. And that's way better than this freaking Pannie Kianzad Karol Rosa fight, believe me.